Hey there, have you been afraid of stopping smoking because you're worried about the withdrawals or crazy cravings or gaining weight and getting fat? Well, you are not alone. So many people allow the fear of stopping smoking to get in the way of them becoming free of the slavery of smoking. So my name is Rita Black, and I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and a smoking cessation specialist, and I've helped over 10,000 people become happy, healthy non-smokers. And in this video, I am going to bust for you the 17 main myths that keep people from stopping smoking or trying to stop smoking and being successful. So let's just dive into it, and really so you can leave this video feeling empowered and ready to go become a happy, healthy non-smoker. Okay, so let's start. Now, over the years, I've been a smoking cessation specialist for over 20 years, and these are really, these 17 are the main myths that I hear from most people, the main fears that most people have that get in their way. So number one is, I have an addictive personality. Have you heard that one before? Or have you been using that one with yourself? So here's the thing about thinking that you have an addictive personality. It completely takes your power away from you. You can absolutely stop smoking when your mind is in the right place. The addiction to nicotine, that part of smoking, really ultimately, and we're going to get into this in a moment, is that's there, but the main driver of your smoking is the habit, the mental piece of smoking, and that is, the habit of smoking is very aggressive, but it doesn't have to do with your personality or you're having an addictive personality. So the moment that you step out of that identity and just say, I am somebody who's willing and ready to stop smoking, that gives you your power back. Two, another identity that a lot of us fall into is we think we have an oral fixation. Again, I think a big fear for a lot of people is they feel like, I'm using cigarettes, and then when I stop using cigarettes or vaping, that I'm going to start eating a bunch of food, and that absolutely does not need to happen. Again, whether you're a snacker or whether you are you like to have things like pens in your mouth or stuff like that, all of those are habits that are patterns that want to be repeated. And but you can absolutely, all we have is focus, and we can focus our mind on being free of chewing on pens, of smoking, of snacking. But it's not about you being there's lesser than, like that you have this problem that you can't fix because you have this sort of disability and are now unable to do that. That's absolutely not true. Don't buy into that, because that takes your power away from you. You can become a non-smoker. Three, I'm going to have to go through horrible withdrawals in order to become a non-smoker, which is absolutely not true as well. When your mind is in the right place, the actual transition into being non-smoker from a physical standpoint is relatively easy. Like I said, I've worked with tens of thousands of people who were heavy smokers and became, once their mind was in the right place, it was easy for them, and they didn't even really feel any physical withdrawal. You withdraw from nicotine very often, like when you go to sleep at night, you're withdrawing from nicotine. The actual physical withdrawal from nicotine is not a big deal, but it's our mental reaction to the idea of withdrawing that freaks us out and creates these horrible physical feelings. But when your mind is in the right place, it can be easy. Okay, I will get fat. Now, so I am a former pack and a half a day smoker, and I stopped smoking over 23 years ago. And before I stopped smoking, I used cigarettes as a way to manage my weight. Now, ironically, I was 40 pounds heavier than I am now today. And so smoking didn't necessarily help me manage my weight. In fact, I am a weight specialist as well with hypnosis. And I know the true factors behind long-term permanent weight management. And smoking is not a long-term permanent weight management tool. Let me just be really honest with you there. if you are using smoking as a way to manage your weight, the fact of the matter is it is not a long-term tool for you. You can manage your weight as a non-smoker, and stopping smoking, there are ways to stop smoking where you are not going to gain weight at all. The main reason we start gaining weight isn't even because smoking revs up our metabolism or anything. The main reason we gain weight is we feel deprived and we start feeding ourselves carbohydrates, and those carbohydrates elevate our blood sugar. That crashes, we feel hungrier, and then we eat more. But if you focus on becoming a non-smoker, getting healthy, getting into exercise, and not look at it from being deprived, but that you're thriving as a non-smoker, that's what happened with me. I started exercising, I started feeding myself and nourishing my body in a powerful way. I lost 40 pounds and I've kept it off for that, for the last 23 years. So, and many of my clients and both in my online program, Smoke Free 123, and my clients in my LA-based program, my LA-based practice, lose weight when they stop smoking because their minds are in the right place. Now, next one, I'm going to have to give up coffee. Okay, so let's set the record straight with that, because I get a lot of clients coming in here and saying to myself, or saying to me, Rita, okay, I'm going to switch over to tea. I'm just going to do the herbal tea, and then I'm like, why are you going to do that? Like, there are millions and millions of people who drink coffee and they love coffee and they're non-smokers. Going to Starbucks, those chairs are all full. And those people, for the most part, are pretty much non-smokers, or, they're not sitting there smoking a cigarette while they're drinking their coffee, at least. So you can absolutely, in fact, as a non-smoker, you will enjoy the flavor, the taste, the aroma, the complexity of the flavor more, because you'll have your taste buds back. So totally a myth. I love my coffee, and I'm a non-smoker, and I used to buy into that fact too. So, and same thing is like, I'm going to have to give up booze. Well, no, not really. The alcohol industry too is doing fantastically and less people are smoking. So as a non-smoker, you can learn to enjoy letting down your hair as a non-smoker, and enjoying the taste of alcohol even more as a non-smoker, because you are now have your taste buds back. I live in California. I assure you the wine industry is doing fantastically unless people smoke. So not true at all. I need to smoke to drive. Okay, well, so interesting fact is that, here in my LA practice, LA is the land of cars, right? And the interesting thing about cars is that for busy people living busy lives, and I'm assuming you probably are a busy person living a busy life, getting in your car and driving is actually, traffic can be a bummer, but driving is one of the only times in our life where we don't have to do anything but drive. In our busy, wired, we have the phone, we have the computer, we have people in our lives asking us for stuff, and when we're just driving in the car, it's a solitary act. It's sort of meditative. So when we smoke, we see everything that happens around our cigarette. Our brain associates that cigarette with and gives the cigarette that power, like driving in our car. It's really enjoyable. So then we think, oh, we need the cigarette in order to drive the car. And that's not true at all. And in fact, many of my clients here in the land of cars buy a new car and then they kind of forbid themselves to smoke in their car. And once they're clear, like it's not an option in my car, they're perfectly happy to drive in their cars. They're perfectly fine. And when they, and other people who are smokers who then become non-smokers, the same. It's like driving your car is an enjoyable act if you focus your mind in that way, and you don't need a cigarette to drive your car. I don't think you probably smoked a cigarette while you were passing your driver's exam. Enough said. Okay, I need them to poo. All right, let's talk about pooing. So a lot of people have a fear that they're going to get really bunged up when they stop smoking, and so there is some truth to this, but I want to walk you through it so you don't use that as fear. Ultimately, your body is going to work for you, okay? What smoking does, nicotine stimulates the bowel wall. So when you smoke, your bowel gets really lazy because basically nicotine is doing the job for the bowel, right? Like the bowel kind of just is like, well, the cigarette's going to do it for me. I don't really have to work out and be strong to push things along. When we become a non-smoker, there's going to be a transition time where the bowel is going to be like, oh, whoa, I need to start doing this and I need to start getting into shape to do this. And it takes a little while for the bowel muscle or the bowel wall to get strong to push things along again. It will happen. You just have to be patient and then maybe help things along with tinctures or teas or something. You can go to Whole Foods or to your local supplement store and just say, hey, I need something that I'm in transition as a non-smoker. Help me out with something. Smoking is not a long-term weight management tool for going poo. Okay? Just is not. I need cigarettes to escape people. It keeps me away from people. Okay, so life is really stressful and busy, and we're really, we get inundated with a lot of things over the course of our day. I find for a lot of smokers, how they use their cigarettes is to give them permission to escape from other people. Like if you're at a club or a bar, you go step outside and all of a sudden it's quiet. Nobody's there. It's quiet and calm. You're in a busy household. Maybe you have kids or you're living with a bunch of people and you get to escape that way. Or maybe you're a secret smoker and you can't wait to get home and just go sit outside and smoke a cigarette on your own. So we have to recognize that we love our own company, and we actually need, the human brain actually needs to decompress several times a day with ourselves, just on our own. When we recognize this, it takes the power away from cigarettes, because for a lot of people, they grant themselves permission to smoke, and that really is just giving them that moment to step away from people or places. So as a non-smoker, you really need to grant yourself permission to do that instead. But it's really important to understand that, again, cigarettes are not an escape tool for you. You escape. The cigarette doesn't help you escape. It just, you have been using it as sort of like granting a permission, but you can learn to grant that permission as a non-smoker. Okay, now the opposite. So we use it to escape people, and then we also use it to hang out with people. Oh, I need them to hang out with my friends who also smoke. That absolutely is not true either. There are many, many non-smokers who hang out with smokers. And the interesting thing is there comes I've been in my practice for 20 years, and I've seen so many trends of ages of people who stop smoking. And the interesting ages are there's the 30s are a big era for people to stop smoking. And there's many reasons why that I don't have time to get into. I'll do another video about that. And then there's ones in your 40s, towards, especially the 30s into early 40s. And then there's later 40s into the 50s. And these are two big times that people stop smoking. And interestingly enough, if you're in your 30s, what's going to happen is all your friends are going to really begin to stop smoking over this decade because of a couple of main reasons, one being physical and one being mental and emotional. And so first of all, you're going to be hanging with your friends as non-smokers, because more and more of them will become non-smokers. And you're in that late 40s, early 50s, same is true. But also, smoking is a tribal thing. We, in our subconscious mind, we're tribal people. The cigarette in our mind, we see it as an entree into hanging out with our friends and family. But once we're clear, oh no, I'm just going to hang with my friends and family as a non-smoker, and they can be totally fine. Once you're clear you're a non-smoker, you can be totally fine hanging out with smokers. It really is a mental thing. But you got to be clear on that for yourself. And once you're hanging with your friends and family as a non-smoker and you're kind of chilling and cool with it, they want in on it. Because they see, oh wow, they stopped smoking and they're okay, and wow, I want that too. So you could actually be the fearless leader of all your friends and family. So that's kind of a cool side benefit to that as well. Okay, I have to give up my smoking friends. Again, it goes right back to what I just said. No, you don't. You know, like I have friends who smoke. They know what I do for a living, but you know, we just don't talk about it. And I hang out with them and they puff away. And I, you know, like it's weird. I've been a non-smoker for 23 years. I still like the smell of cigarette smoke. I mean, I don't want it all the time. I don't want it in my hair or my clothes, but yeah, I just hang with my smoking friends. It's totally fine. You can do it. I will be boring. This is a big one for a lot of people. They're afraid that their cigarettes give them that rebel edge, and without it, they're not going to have that anymore. When you think about it, it's kind of ludicrous that choking yourself with smoke is rebellious. It's rebelling against yourself primarily. Okay. I hate to say that, but it's true. I grew up in Seattle, a very, very healthy, health conscious world. And I didn't stop smoking. I started smoking until I moved to New York City, big bad city. And I thought smoking made me cool. And, you know, all these New Yorkers around me were smoking. But you know, when I became a non-smoker, I realized that this idea that, you know, smoking is actually boring. You know, like when you actually light a cigarette and stand there, most people have to get on their phone or do something else while they're smoking because the actual act of, so the idea that smoking is exciting or it gives you this chic or rebel edge when you're really choking yourself with smoke and you're giving your power away to something outside of yourself, there's like nothing. So as a non-smoker, you can cultivate a really rebellious edge as a non-smoker. I mean, you know, there's far more eccentric ways to rebel than choking yourself with smoke. Enough said. I will be bored if I don't smoke. Well, that goes back to the idea smoking is boring. So bored is this umbrella term for a lot of other things. So actually smoking is boring. It doesn't alleviate boredom. It supposedly gives you something to do, but usually what you're doing is going and sitting on your phone and looking at that. And you can do that as a non-smoker, right? Okay. So I actually, when I became a non-smoker, I got into a lot of really interesting stuff. And, you know, with the time I saved and health and all that stuff. So actually becoming a non-smoker alleviates a lot of boredom because you get on with your life and you stop sitting around smoking cigarettes. So 14, I will always miss my cigarettes. No, you won't. Your mind will move on. We are adaptable beings. You probably had a teddy bear or a blankie or a pacifier that you were super into, couldn't be separated from it. It went with you wherever you went when you were a kid. And guess what? You're not thinking about that thing today. And, you know, cigarettes for us are sort of the pacifier, the teddy bear, the crutch that we have needed. But, you know, maybe you wouldn't be watching this video if you weren't ready. And what you really just need is a friendly nudge from me to say, hey, you're ready. You can move on. You can leave that blankie behind and move forward. And you know, becoming a non-smoker isn't just about not smoking. That's the way we look at it. Becoming a non-smoker is an evolution into being our best self because we're now learning deeper ways of taking care of ourselves and being healthy as a non-smoker. So actually smoking takes your power away from you. And as a non-smoker, you get your power back and you become stronger and you don't need your blankie anymore. Okay? I will be lonely. Okay, so a lot of us, it's really interesting, but the way that the mind works around smoking is we see cigarettes as our friend. And that's because cigarettes are literally how we think about cigarettes is in the same place of our brain where we house our friends, our family, and all the people that we love. So isn't that crazy? I know it's kind of crazy and we can't. So when I work with people, we work to move that part to a different part of their brain, to the part where it's more the enemy rather than the friend. But you can do that too. You can just really start to look at that buddy and go, wow, my buddy actually is costing me a lot of money. My buddy makes me smell. My buddy makes me go outside and into the cold. What friend does that? You know, your buddy doesn't care if you get cancer or heart disease or diabetes or Alzheimer's and dementia, which they are now linking with smoking. You know, like your your friend wouldn't do that, would they? But yet we see it as a buddy. So this is a bad relationship. You know, like, have you ever thought of a friend and then thought of, like, woke up one day and they're like, wow, or you thought this friend was like so cool and amazing, and and then one day you wake up and you're like, yeah, they're not all that, you know, and you kind of move on from that relationship. Well, think of smoking in the same way. Now, the other one is because anxious is another reason why we feel like we are afraid of stopping smoking. But the truth of the matter is, smoking creates anxiety. It doesn't relieve anxiety. Smoking elevates our central nervous system. It agitates it. It elevates our heart rate. When we're smoking often, we're thinking about, like, is this killing me? Is this going to kill me? We're trying to hide from people and not be seen. So the part of your brain that smokes will always say, oh, it's relaxing, or oh, it helps you, but it doesn't. It really actually creates more anxiety than it relieves. Okay, and last but not least, I love smoking. So this is one of the biggest myths that I see floating around. I get people coming in my office. They have collapsed lungs or COPD or something really pretty serious. And they'll say to me, Rita, you know, I just love smoking. And if I didn't have COPD, or if my lung wasn't collapsed, I would just keep right on smoking because I love smoking. And then I ask them, I say, well, what do you love about smoking? And then they're like, I'm not sure. Never thought about that. And the real reason is because the part of your brain that smokes is not you, but that part of the brain is very powerful. And that part of the brain will say, you love smoking. You love it. You love it. You can be coughing. You can be hacking. This is like the main, you know, really fascinating dynamic of smoking. Is like we could hate it and be hiding and have so much shame around it. But there's this other part of us that's like, oh, I love it. I can't live without it. I need it to relax and do all this stuff. And all this stuff over here, it helps me. No, it doesn't. It takes your power away from you. It keeps you enslaved to this pattern that completely keeps you from moving forward with your life. Smoking is, you do not love smoking, but there is a part of your brain that makes you believe that you do. So one of the easiest ways to kind of break that love affair with smoking is just to acknowledge and own that you love smoking, and then start to ask yourself, well, what do I love about smoking so much? And pretty quickly, that mythology will start to float away, and you can get really clear on why you want to stop, and you can then make the decision to become a non-smoker. You have every ability to become a non-smoker, and that experience can be a happy one. It can be a fulfilling one. It can be the most amazing experience of your life. I am so honored to do what I do for a living because I see these transformational journeys. Stopping smoking is not about deprivation. It is about transformation. You becoming your best self. And so that is really ultimately, at the end of the day, you're becoming your best self. You're living your fullest life is really what's at stake here. So don't let the myths take your power away from you. Believe in yourself and know you can do it, and you can become free. Listen, if you have any myths yourself that you want busted, please add them into the comments below. I would love to hear what you need help with in regards to your journey to stopping smoking. Let me know. I'll make a video about it. Like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'm always putting out more content about stopping smoking, stopping vaping, taking back your power. So join and subscribe, and I will be putting out more fascinating and encouraging and motivating videos that are going to help you on your journey to becoming free. Okay, have a great day.